Stretch chat. So feel free, as I mentioned, to throw your questions in the chat, and Jane will interrupt as needed. Cindy, how are you?
Sorry,
Oh,
I somehow had a different link on my calendar, so
great,
all is
great.
good. And I love Darcy and I called one another and matched today.
Yeah.
So
Oh, look, we have our blue
yes,
on.
we'll send out free gifts to anyone that can prove they have a blue shirt on.
Yeah, free gifts, free gifts. All right, great. All right, so let's get into it a little bit. Let's just start with Cindy and I, and just kind of share passion and love for you folks who are on this call and stretching. And it's even especially important now as we talk about Gen Z. And I raised them, so I'm sorry if they're not. If we're challenged by them. I think they're extremely intelligent. They're a hardworking group, and I'm super excited about kind of them entering the workforce. Here's what I know though, as leaders, that it takes change, and everyone in our organization is dealing with something. And so, what we believe is that everyone has potential, more potential than they believe. And it's our job as leaders to really maximize that potential. Most of the time, we are our own self limiters, and Gen Z and millennial are no different. So, as leaders, we have to figure out how to really maximize their potentials. And so it really starts with this conversation on leadership and how are we approaching leadership? How does the Gen Z generation approach leadership? And then how are we working that into our strategy? How are we putting it in our people systems? And how are we putting it in our recruiting and our retention, our training? And then how are we really building high performing teams? I mean, Cindy has been talking about teams for, I don't know, 20 to 25 years. And so at the end of the day, it really is. I mean, we want all these organizations to be high performing. And so thank you for taking this time. Cindy, you want to go through kind of who we are a little bit, and then talk a little bit more about Leader Up?
I would love to, definitely. So for us, the core thing about what Darcy and I love to do is be able to tackle the process of growth for companies. And we do this through kind of a number of different ways. And we always try to mirror how we look at it in terms of what we want companies to have as well. So this isn't here just to tell you, oh, what's Cindy and Darcy and their team's purpose and values. It's really here just to show that these are the places that we think all organizations and individuals, we do a lot of coaching on personal strategic plans as well. And, being able to define your purpose so you can anchor back to it, knowing what your values are because they are going to drive your decisions, whether they're on a personal level or on an organizational level. And then what sets you apart? What is it that you do that brings value to other people that you get excited about and that you want to work in the zone of your expertise and enthusiasm? And so for us, we really want people to be self aware and strategic, and everything that we have been doing is geared towards that, helping companies do it, helping leaders get really clear on their personal vision and what impact they want to make, regardless of where they work. And then for individuals to really understand what impact they also want to make on their family and community through goal setting and clarity.
So one
Um,
of the things to point out right at the beginning, I'm not stealing Dylan's thunder, but I will say purpose and values, and he'll talk more, but it's extremely important to Gen Z. I mentioned this when my daughter interviewed for her summer intern. She was in Spain at a work abroad, study abroad, and every interview she did was remote. I mean, she's in Spain, but one of her questions was, "Tell me about a value of your company and how you used it today." And she looked for their purpose. So these are not just concepts that are good for leaders or on paper, but your hiring managers, your people are going to get these more and more, and they really do define your culture. And Gen Z, they want to know. So I mean, we start with this because it's just so important as an organization that you guys have these and you're living them.
mhm.
Um, so this is just about our services. Again, Cindy is the people person. I'm going to have her really talk about her book that we're so excited. Whoop, 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 lead her up, and some opportunities. Really work with Cindy and her book and her workbook. with your teams on really how to bring some of these concepts to life. So, Cindy, you want to talk about your book a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. At the end, I'll pop up a screen as well when Dylan is done. But the book finally came out. Any of you who know me know that this was kind of a running joke. Would it ever happen? Never thought to set out as an author, and here I'm already trying to work on finalizing the second one. But this is all of the work that we teach about your personal growth and how do we set ourselves up for being self-aware and then we're able to lead other people because we're coming from a place of healthy leadership. And then we're able to really cast vision for people because we have established trust with them. And I think what Dylan will talk about today is so imperative because these generations that, I'm getting old here, and the generations that follow, I'm so challenged by and I love in that what we're able to do is allow people to grow at the pace and speed that they want to do in a greater uh, layout of autonomy. And this book, I hope, helps you get centered and grounded in being able to understand some people have different ladders and paces that they want to go. And how do you engage them and really stay in love with leading, which I think is one of the biggest gifts that we have to give back to people.
Awesome. I did put this executive team jumpstart, Cindy, in here, so we can talk more about it, but it's just another kind of call to action for folks on here. The whole conversation with our, whatever generation we're talking about, it's really how well your leaders understand how to impact them.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, making sure, I mean, we use a tool called the Berkman, and it is so helpful today. And really with this big change that we're going through, AI, technology, Gen Z. I mean, leaders really need to understand themselves and how they impact others. So I just threw this in here as something for folks to kind of maybe anchor in. Are their leaders really self aware?
Yeah, yeah. And hang on till the end after Dylan's presentation, and I'll pop up some QR codes for there's a study guide that goes with the book, so a free study guide, and then some free videos that go with for those of you who have Berkmans that are the assessment tool that we use. So got some freebies at the end for all of us.
Awesome. All right, Dylan. Here we go.
Woohoo!
So excited.
Dylan will
All
make
right.
all excited about his generation. Let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
So.
So
Yep.
just it's funny. I'm just gonna introduce you a little bit, Dylan. I have actually probably known Dylan since you moved here from Belgium. He was on a basketball team with my son, and I am so happy that he chose us to work with this summer. And he is at OSU, and it's a cool program that they're doing, integrated business and engineering. And it's pretty awesome the way the colleges are teaching these kids both how to think about engineering as a process, but then understand the impact of business and computer information. So he'll talk about that a little bit more. And thank you, Dylan. I enjoyed working with you. I know Jane did and Cindy. So I'll let you talk a little bit more about yourself and then go through your presentation. And Dylan knows I interrupt, so he's used to that.
He's
But
used to her.
he's used to
He's
it.
got her down pat now.
He's got me
Going to
down.
PhD this summer in Darcy. We do want to know what a wedding laborer is.
It's you literally just set up the weddings. You just move around all the stuff and set it up. It's all right.
Love it.
It's not the best, but
All right, Dylan. Anything else you want to chat about yourself?
well, obviously I'm an intern here. I've gotten to sit in some client meetings, do some mini projects, making a little bit of an impact. Why I chose to work here, like my mom mentioned consulting to me at a young age, and I've always found it kind of interesting. I want to grow businesses, see people grow, and I like collaborating with others. And then some other jobs that I have, I was like a basketball coach, soccer referee, a golf laborer, which kind of sucks also, but yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. All right. As you will hear, Gen Z does tend to have more than think about work differently. A lot of them have multiple jobs, and Dylan is no exception to that, which is kind of
Mm.
fun. All right, let's talk about Gen Z and your view on leading in today's world.
All right. So for my sources, I interviewed some honors OSU students who are off at big consulting firms now. I feel like they're credible sources to go to. And then I also conducted a survey. I asked fellow honors students, people in a competitive consulting club at OSU, and a couple of my LinkedIn connections, ages 18 to 30, to fill out a survey for me that I used in this article and in this webinar. And then like research sites, I used Deloitte, Harvard Business Review, Forbes, McKinsey, etc.
Awesome. Comprehensive. Love it.
So, what we're going to be talking about today. So, who is Gen Z? What they value, what the research says, like new leadership styles, like collaboration is important, hybrid work is critical, how we think about jobs, the gold standard matters, and then takeaways. So, who is Gen Z? So, age-wise, they were born between 1996 and 2012. They're pretty new to the workforce, less than 5 years in the workforce. And then some things that have shaped the way that Gen Z functions are social media, the pandemic, climate change, political discourse. And then overall, as a generation, we're a lot more aware of the things that go on around us. And then things that would describe Gen Z are digital, socially conscious, and they're seeking meaningful work. Everyone wants to make an impact and feel needed. So I have a quote up here. We are able to bridge the gap between tech and real life because we started virtually and are completely comfortable. So that was by Shushmita Shikhar, who works at SOM. And I have this quote here because it adds to the point that we are technologically advanced and we are bringing that to the workforce to help everybody improve. So, what Gen Z values? So, work-life balance and flexibility. Like Gen Zers are always doing multiple things, whether it's multiple sports, multiple jobs, whatever it may be. And being able to have that balance between work and the extracurriculars that they choose to participate in is vital. And that kind of plays into the flexibility part because, like, sometimes things come up and changes need to be made. So, having flexibility is important. And then I have mental health on here, not as a value necessarily, but like more of an extension of flexibility. As of recently, like mental health has become a bigger issue with the new age of like social media and things like that. And a lot of times work can be stressful and demoralizing. And that is why it's valuable to have that balance between work and everything else going on in your life. I know me personally, like I'm not 100% all the time. So it's good to be able to take a step back so I can put my best foot forward. So it's important to have like a good supportive community to back you. And it's necessary for a Gen Zer to be successful. Community and culture. Having a good work culture is obviously very important. Gen Z is here to do meaningful work, feel included, make an impact. If there is no togetherness or positive work culture in the workplace, then the likelihood of the younger generation staying is very slim. It needs to be a warm and welcoming environment that everyone feels a part of. And then ethical standards, like Gen Z population is a lot more socially conscious than any other generation. There has to be that like positive connotation to the company that they're working at. Like if the company isn't making efforts to better impact the environment or the world around them, like then a Gen Z employee won't be as interested because it matters. Like meaningful work and contributing to the world is what Gen Z is here for. And then like lastly, career trajectory. Like we don't want to just plateau out as soon as we get into the company. Like we want to work our way up, maybe start our own business, make it to the top of the food chain. Like we want to see growth.
One of the things I mentioned in some of our recent clients, well, some of their big wins coming out of strategy was community giving back, connecting it to a purpose. It was wild. One of the distributors that we worked with, that was one of the main things to bring all their locations together. And it just like it's like a wildfire. And it was, it was just there. And I mean, it was more than Gen Z, millennial, but it brought the location together and it supported the strategy. So I think this kind of think about the work-life balance, not always outside of work, but even balancing what they're doing with making a difference. And so I think there's a lot there that's not necessarily that they want to leave at two. They just want this ability to make a difference. So I really there's opportunity there. There's money there. There's community there. Okay.
All right. So new leadership styles like collaboration. To bounce off the last slide a little bit, like inclusivity and teamwork. It's important. letting everyone feel involved and feel like they've contributed something to the end product. Like, not the old, you do this way, the way that I tell you to. No, 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 no. Like, instead, it should be, here's a problem or a task. Everyone come together and figure it out. Like, we are past the time of telling people what and how to do something. There needs to be mentoring with like a little bit of freedom. Allow them to create their own solutions because that'll keep them more engaged. Like if you mindlessly tell them to do stuff, they'll check out instantly and that just decreases productivity. But you may be wondering like how is Gen Z, if they're so new to the workforce, how are they supposed to help me with my problems? Gen Z is a generation of quick learners. Whenever there's a problem, they'll resort to a YouTube video, Google, or read a book about it. Like they're willing to learn and at a very fast pace. So if you, as the employer, are able to give them those resources, they will be able to contribute to the final problem. And then, in like a leader's standpoint, like being able to constructively talk to an employee about how to do something is essential. I saw something on the internet the other day that said, Gen Z is the most responsive generation when it comes to feedback. But depending on how they are told that feedback can change the effectiveness of the feedback. For example, like if you yell at someone and saying they aren't doing a good enough of a job, there will be resistance and like minimal change because they're stubborn that way. The goal is to create a positive work environment. Instead say, you've been doing blah 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 really well. However, this could use some improvement, but here's how to do it. You have to give them the steps and the guide on how to get better. And that is why like emotional intelligence is so crucial within a company because you have to be able to talk to your employees and know what works with them. So I'd have like a little question for you guys to think to yourself, like, what is the current culture in my current organization? Is there anything that we could do better as an organization to bring in this younger audience?
Love it. And I love your chart. I think thinking about the structure, thinking about creating teams, and thinking about how do we really build Gen Z up with training. That's become a big thing in a lot of our companies we're working with. I mean, are we doing enough on the training so that folks can really do what they need to do from a problem solving? Love it.
So this is a little bit of a case study. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, he's a bit ahead of the curve because he introduced the new aspect of know it all to learn it all back when he took over in 2014. So he emphasized the importance of inclusivity and innovation. And since then, in 2014, they've added over $150 billion in revenue to their company. But it all starts with redefining the culture of the company. Everyone has to be bought in and everyone has to share the same goals and values of the company. Like people need to like people want to work there. Like that's important to a company.
Love it.
And then hybrid work is critical. Obviously, it's pretty new. You know, it started with COVID, but flexibility leads to more productivity. Like being able to work from home is a game changer. In a study conducted by McKinsey, found that 87% of employees felt more productive when doing hybrid work. Being able to take that step back at home and like have a little reset before hopping back into action is very important and is very helpful, like for a mindset perspective. And then hybrid work also contributes to work-life balance. You know, when you aren't required to come to the office every day, you're able to do more things. And like I mentioned earlier, like having that balance between both sides will help not only like with a mental aspect, but with bringing a better aspect towards work. And then hybrid work is amazing for Gen Zers, but it has to be done the right way. I cannot stress that enough. Holding people accountable while also supporting them is crucial. Check-ins and mentors, like to make sure that employees are on track is crucial. Like the employees need deadlines, expectations, and training resources. Without these tools, the effectiveness of hybrid work is not as good. And this morning, I woke up and Darcy showed me this quote from the former CEO of Google mentioning that remote work is bad for companies. I looked into it a little bit, I read the article, and I could not agree more. It is good to have work-life balance, but there has to be some days in the office. It can't just be only in person or only at home. There has to be that mix. And I feel like it's up to the employer to find that balance in between. Because I know as like I know if I was in that situation and I worked from home every single day, I would slack off very easily. And I think it goes for all of Gen Z. So it's important to find that balance. And then another thing I'd like to add that I didn't put on here is like hybrid work supports DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you may be wondering, like, how does that work? Well, here's an example. Going into the office for some people, seeing a building full of people that don't look like them can be intimidating. So like having that online aspect, you don't feel as like judged or discouraged that you're not like everyone else there. For me, it's not as big of a problem because that's like how I've grown up my whole entire life. But for other people that have grown up in that community filled with people like themselves going into an all white male office, like it can be hard for them. So yeah.
Love it. I love it.
So here's some extra facts. Like, don't just take my word for it. Like, Forbes had a study, and 88% of respondents had an increase in job satisfaction. And 75% stated that they had an increased work-life balance. Like, it does impact the company. And then a little example of this is Adobe. They have successfully implemented the hybrid work model, and they have a turnover rate of 10%, which is incredible, 3% lower than the tech industry average. It shows that if you implement this system correctly, it will help. It will help out a lot and retain those individuals.
And what we're finding is that you have to determine the jobs, the industry, the company, the stage of growth. There's not a one size fits all here. There's not. I mean, I think, and so I read somewhere that only 30% of the jobs you actually can do at home. There's still 70% of the jobs that you need to go to work to do. So I think the reality is what we're saying is stay open to the idea, allow your employees to help you with it, but set the expectation that productivity increases. It doesn't go down. I'm giving you this benefit not to pay more for you, but to allow you to be more productive. And so, 410s. I've seen a lot of people think in the manufacturing side of how do we give people another day off? And it doesn't mean everyone gets Friday off. It means every day still gets covered, but you get them covered with 4 days. So I think there's just a lot more, which sounds complicated, but the outcomes are worth it. You do have to think about what will work for your company, your stage of growth, your industry, and there is not a one size fits all. All right, hold on. I got to get my screen to work again. There it is.
All right, so this is my mom, Hannah Beethan, sales executive at DXC. And my mom works from home when she's in town, but the other 50% of the time she's flying out to a client meeting. So it's kind of like a 50-50. I'd call it hybrid. And I also work from home for the majority of my internship. Like most of my mini projects are done at home, but like the client meetings are done in person. And some of the benefits of this are we are able to talk to each other at home. I can ask her questions. If I need help, I can just go to her because she's right there. Funny enough, she is in the next room on a client call. And when she's done, I'll probably go talk to her. Like it's just very convenient. And that quality time that I get to spend with my mom in between work is like a stress reliever. Like if work is hard, I can just go talk to her real quick and then jump back into action. Like I know she's not Gen Z, but it's important that if everyone works from home, they're able to like collaborate a little bit in between doing their work. And I think it's very helpful for productivity.
Love it.
So, how we think about jobs. So, Gen Z has a little bit of like a stigma, like we're job hoppers, especially when compared to millennials. Like all Gen Z really wants though is security and meaningful work, a positive work environment, and alignment with their personal values. If a company is able to meet these needs, then they'll be able to retain those employees for longer and longer. However, if they're not met, Gen Z employees are very quick to move on to the next job. And this is not really their fault. We are so new into the workforce. The only thing we've experienced is COVID, 20 million plus job layoffs. I know people that have had parents work at a company for 20 plus years and just get laid off. There's no such thing as loyalty. And that embedded this naive mindset into Gen Z. It's like companies do not care about us. There's no such thing as loyalty. I don't want to get screwed over. So I'm going to screw over the company and find a new job. And it's unfortunate it works that way, but like it's just how it is.
I love it. And again, we talk about this in strategy a lot. Their reality of Gen Z is different than the reality of me or the reality of the millennials or the reality of someone in there at later in life. And so you have to think about perspective is really based on the experiences that you have. And as they get more experiences, they will think differently about jobs and work. But there is some insecurity when they saw a lot of people get laid off and a lot of work change. So it's just,
Mm.
again, we're just trying to understand what their experiences are. And you can't argue with their experiences, but you can try to create opportunities that increase the security, but then recognize they're anxious about it.
So another case study, Nike, very good at retaining employees. Nike's mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And then below it says, if you have a body, you are an athlete. So why is their retention so high? They're purpose driven. Like they're committed to bringing inspiration and innovation to every single person in the world. It's inclusive. As you can see, it says, if you have a body, you're an athlete. So that means no matter what size, gender, color, you're entitled to what Nike has to bring. They're committed to sustainability. Again, that positive impact that Gen Z looks for in companies. And finally, they're innovative, like always coming out with new items and clothing that change the way our world is.
Love it. I mean, it is amazing, Dylan. I mean, as you've been working through this, I mean, think about how many times Dylan went and found purpose statements, value statements, mission statements. I mean, they're looking for that on your website. They're looking for that on LinkedIn. These are meaningful concepts that we in the smaller businesses under a couple of 100 million, but we got to catch up and we got to make sure that we are presenting so we can be competitive for these employees. Love it.
So the gold standard matters. So being the gold standard, it's more than doing what's right. You have to go above and beyond. And that all starts by fostering a culture of inclusivity and equity, being vocal about DEI efforts and things like that. Everyone needs to know that you are making a positive impact on the world because that will grab the attention of Gen Z. Give the employees a platform to voice their opinions, maintain a positive public image, and match the values of the Gen Z population. Like, if you have hopes of pulling and keeping the younger generation at your company, you have to realize that being average or doing just enough isn't going to get the job done. And if you don't go above and beyond, another company will, and they will steal those employees from you.
One of the things that Dylan, we talked about on this one that again, Cindy, I'd love for you to just chat about is making sure that we have more than satisfaction surveys for employees, but we have engagement surveys, that we have open-ended questions. And again, you need to be doing those annually. Like it's not enough to say every 3 years we're going to listen to our employees. And you need to be doing that. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, it- there's so many things about this that my brain is just like, I mean, one of the things that I think when we start looking at the major changes that this makes to our workforce, in the past, we like mental health. We of a certain two generations look at mental health and go, well, here's the number to the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program. We'll cover 10 of your therapy appointments. And, that no longer gets it. That manager has got to be empathic and understanding of what's going on with that employee. And, we want the employees to change and be able to grow, but we also want to take care of them and have them stay because long term, that's where we're going to get the win. And I think about this generation being like a breath of fresh air to the workplace because they're really requiring us to do things that we should have been doing all along in terms of treating the whole person as, what matters, in terms of not just looking at them to produce regardless of what stage of life they're in or what's going on with them. And by doing that, you will see that they move so fast when they move that when they're in a good spot, it's worth every bit of creating a great, healthy environment for them to be in. But I also think it's good for the rest of your employees because everybody wants these same things. They want purpose, meaning, they want to be rewarded, they want to be cared about, they want to have relationships at work. And now we get things that we've all dreamed of, which is flexibility and some compassion for a manager when we're in a rough season of life. And so I love this generation for pushing us to really be better human beings. Um, and I don't think it costs more. I'm going to be really clear about that. I think when we check in with our people and we continue to help them be in a healthy work environment and have, a life that is balanced and not stressed out and not go home with their family looking at them going, you're not even present with us when you're here. I think the productivity balance of that is worth every penny, and I've not found any research that's proven me wrong yet. So I think what they're teaching us is something that is a real gift.
Yeah, we were talking about, I think that first one on collaboration. And I've mentioned to our company and others that I'm rereading Beyond Entrepreneurship again. And it's back to servant leadership, right? And it isn't that leadership, level 5 leadership, none of that is new, but it is still rare. And I think what Dylan is saying, which is different, I think that they're going to find the companies that do it, and the companies that don't won't survive. My opinion, some of us would have stayed a little longer. We've created support systems that Gen Zer can move to jobs fairly easy. Now, I get that there may be a recession and it may change, but here's the deal. They are not afraid to move. They are not afraid of change. And so all we're saying is that's an opportunity for you to stand out, because I still think this stuff isn't new, but it is rare. And that's the opportunity the small companies have. And I mean small, anyone under 300 million. Because if you don't, we are going to get left behind. We just will. And so I think it's just a place that we are in our change trajectory that Gen G is pushing. And I love it. But I don't think this is necessarily new either. I'm with Cindy, but I still think it's rare.
All right, so cancel culture, it kind of has to do with like the gold standard of maintaining that positive public image. So cancel culture is something that has become a lot more prominent nowadays. Like people or large corporations get canceled for doing something they shouldn't have or believing in something that maybe isn't the most popular among the younger generation. But the key to surviving is being transparent and authentic. Like if you have nothing to hide and you're making efforts to make this world a better place, then you will not only survive like cancel culture, but you will also have that like positive aura around your name. Like people will be like, oh, that's a good company. They do good for the world. It's very important to have that positive image because Gen Z wants to be proud of the company they work for. It's a pride thing. For example, a Gen Zer would be ecstatic if they got to work for P&G. However, the feelings would not be the same if they worked for a company like Balenciaga or Papa John's, one of the companies that have been canceled for doing inappropriate things. Like you don't want to be associated with that kind of behavior because how does that make you look? Like you're associated with all that stuff. They don't want that. So having a positive public image is what keeps you at the gold standard. So I want you guys to think to yourself, like, what does your company do to show their positive contribution? And a lot of times companies lack in their social media. So on your social media, you need to like show what impacts you're making and make sure you get your following up and make sure you're constantly posting, showing your contribution to the world.
Oh gosh, I'm like gonna cry. Because the cool thing is we have people on this call that are doing that. And I know they have invested in marketing and social media to show purpose, to show value, to show make a difference. And it is paying off that their brands are more meaningful. And swag, Gen Z, we all love swag, but it's because brand ambassadors not it's still there. They want to be proud of who they work for. I love that. Thanks, Dylan. All right, let's do your
So
takeaways.
yeah. if you don't get anything, like take these 4 points away. Okay, so embrace collaborative leadership, adopt more inclusive leadership styles, encourage teamwork, and involve employees in decision making. Create a positive and responsive work environment. Everyone wants to feel included, like they did something to contribute. Completing a bunch of tasks, but not getting a say on how it's done, like doesn't make you feel involved. Instead, you feel like a robot, and no one wants that. No one wants to be at a company where you feel like a robot. It's just
And
not sustainable.
I love it. So I was just with a client this morning who's rolling out their strategy and their project teams. And sometimes as leaders, we protect employees and we keep our name on everything. And that is what this client did. They were the priority champion, and then the priority champion owned every project. It's because my people don't have time to do it. That is not okay. And we have to figure out how to bring on employees to support and help. That's that collaboration. I feel like sometimes we're thinking we're protecting, but you're really zapping. So I think there's a balance here. We have to have resources and we don't want to burn out people. But sometimes I think putting a Gen Z or anyone in charge of something is actually like awesome. Wow, I can do this. They believe in me. That's the other thing about feedback for Gen Z. The compliment sandwich, this was in the article, Cindy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for anyone, by the way. Hey, you look great. This presentation's terrible, but great job doing the research. Dylan's not going to think that's helpful at all. Instead, it was like, Dylan, you've done such great research. The article was amazing. Let's up your game in the presentation. Dylan worked a lot on this presentation. And he did it because he knew he was making a difference and making an impact. And it wasn't because I gave him a compliment sandwich. But I did want him to be better, and I expect him to be better. And he rose to the occasion. So I just challenged the folks on the call: are you protecting or are you zapping? And I think again, a Gen Z, or if you don't put their name and you think you're protecting, I'm going to tell you they think you're zapping. So awesome.
Implementing hybrid work models. You got to recognize that people want to do hybrid work. Flexibility leads to enhanced productivity and job satisfaction. Hybrid work supports the DEI efforts. Like you want to bring in that diverse background so people feel more at home. And then implement the system correctly. Like I can't stress it enough. It has to be done the right way, or else it's just going to be ineffective and cause your company to lose productivity. You have to find that balance as the employer.
Yeah, we talked about it. My husband's company put a whole innovation team on this for 6 to 12 months. What's the perfect model for us? They're commercial real estate. They want people in work. I mean, they don't make money if everyone's in their home, by the way. And what they came back with is the way that they rolled out hybrid work is it's up to the department manager within guidelines, right? They said everyone's got to be in there. Here's that everyone has to do, but really it is up to the type of work and the department manager. So I think this is just something where we all want these systems and we want it all to be the same, but we're going to have to get comfortable with a little bit of customization here. Cindy, anything to add on this one?
No, but I will go back to what Dylan said in the very beginning and put an exclamation point on it. They want accountability. They
They
need
do.
accountability. I mean, for all of us, I had a work from home job and it was a sales job. I was out in the field with P&G, and there were weeks that my boss didn't even check in. He just assumed that I was getting up and getting my butt out the door and calling on grocery stores throughout rural Alabama, Talladega, Sylacauga, all those areas. And having him check in with me more would have been like the best thing for my mental health. And there are great tools out there that keep, productivity checks on computers. And I mean, all of that's been developed. So provide that accountability and support and encouragement, because this is that loneliness that some of us experienced during COVID. It's not good for your mental health.
Yeah, I mentioned this, but Lily worked at an organization. Lily's my daughter, and she had a presentation that she was in corporate sponsorship. That was one of her responsibilities. Improve this presentation. but there was little, there weren't deadlines. It wasn't clear what she was improving. She was given this broad category, make it better. And it was like her most frustrating thing. She just wanted some check-ins. She wanted some clear. She wanted to do the best that that she could. She just kept asking for it, and she really never got it. She did kick butt on the raffles, though. I will say she killed it on the raffles. That was very clear. But I mean, again, I don't think this is new, but it is super important, especially with hybrid.
So, catering to ethical and socially conscious employees. Like I said earlier, Gen Z is the most socially conscious generation out of all of them. And re-emphasizing what I said a couple slides ago, you have to cater to the values of the Gen Z employees. Promote DEI, implement unconscious bias trainings, communicate the company values and social impacts, like make it known. Like Madtree, for example, like hospitality is their thing. So make it known. Everyone has to be bought into that same goal, and everyone should feel like they're all in one big community. It's not only about the customers, it's also about the employees. Like we should all feel the same way. And all these things will contribute to the gold standard. I know for me personally, I check to see what the diversity is like in a company. Uh, like I said earlier, it's obviously different for me, but for others, it may not be. They may not be as comfortable. And I think it's important to cater to all backgrounds and be inclusive of all people.
Yeah,
'Cause it
Dylan,
also brings a different perspective also.
yeah, if I can dive in on that one especially, I think if you look at the money that is being pulled out of the DEI work right now, I mean, the cancel culture has hit itself on DEI in companies. It's the weirdest ricochet I've seen in decades, because people put so much money into it and they can't see tangible results from it. And so I keep trying to um, redefine DEI a little bit for people so it's a little more tangible. And I'm not sure I've got it right, but I work on it. And that is that the diversity of ideas that build businesses come from diversity of experiences.
Mhm.
And when I'm teaching on leadership and communication, I talk all the time about your perspective is your reality. So I might not get your perspective, I might not agree with your perspective, but I have to understand that you came to it for really good reasons. Blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of times, develops perspective. But if I don't understand that everybody's come to their perspective and they're 100% right because that's been their life experiences and how they've been treated, but that I'm coming at it 100% right on my perspective, and we can't both be 100% right. And so all of a sudden, it's about opening up our minds to understanding what the other person's story is, what their experience is, what brings out the best in them, what sends them a message that I care. I don't know if y'all have heard the term dog whistle, but basically it's sending a person diversity a message that you don't understand and you're not trying to understand. It's where the term Karen came from, that Karen send the dog whistle that I'm as a white woman, I don't understand and I'm right. Um, but I am really, really hopeful, and I'm going to keep pushing that we redefine DEI a little bit from I have to be tolerant or woke into I have to be a human.
Yeah.
And I have to be open to understanding that in our world, people of different colors than white have been treated differently. I mean, go spend time in with someone that is different from you, and you will see that quickly. So I just want to throw that out there because, when Dylan was putting all this together, I mean, we all know we've seen companies are pulling out billions of dollars in DEI. They're shutting down whole departments on DEI. They're not doing, colleges are letting go of proactive enrollment. But we can't let it go. This is something we all own to be human, to understand another person's experience. So I'm just going to keep pushing on that one.
I love it. Let me give you an example because I thought about this. I have a client on here. I'm pretty sure Lynn Rose Matandi. I think Matt was on here, maybe part of their team, maybe Andy, Rebecca. They moved from like a social committee, which is what we used to do, like let's plan social events, to an ambassador team. So think about that. Social committee, I just serve myself with social activities, or an ambassador team, which is I do and pull. And it's a team of people who have this general commitment to bring good to the community. And it's internal and external. But so, move from social committee to ambassador teams. That's what we're talking about here. And ambassador teams are built up of of a inclusive group of generations, of experiences, of perspectives. And it is to drive the brand that has a strategy. So there's a connection here. We're not saying go out and rake leaves if it doesn't matter, but go find things that are meaningful to your brand and your company and your people. All right, let's do this last one.
So align corporate values with Gen Z expectations. Remember, just be transparent and authentic with company practices. Communicate DEI efforts and social impacts. Allow employees to feel heard. I feel like that's a big part of like feeling at home and being a part of the community. And then make the core values known in the workplace. If a Gen Zer does not see themselves or like does not feel the same values as the workplace, it's not going to work out well. It's like a contradicting relationship. It just won't work. And they'll move on to the next company that shares similar values to them.
Love it. I hope that we have, I mean, again, fortunately for us, a lot of you guys are believe in this stuff. So we're reinforcing it. I'm going to stop sharing. There's an article on Dylan's article is on our website. Jane has a recording. We'll send this out. I'm going to let Dylan kind of wrap up, and I know Cindy wants to as well. So Dylan, what is some of your wrap up?
So all that was like research based, survey based, but this is from me. Like this is what I can tell you as a Gen Zer myself. I'm working 2 jobs right now, and my favorite one would be this one. Like first of all, I'm so grateful for this opportunity and to be able to do this. I'm able to work from home and sit in client meetings, and I get to make an actual contribution. It feels like I'm doing something meaningful and I'm contributing to the world through this article and this webinar. And on the other hand, I'm working at the country club and it sucks. We don't we don't get a say in how we do anything. There's a lot of ineffective practices. There's no AC. And then the culture there is terrible. It's everybody for themselves. No one covers for each other. People just sit there and do nothing. And then people even steal tips. Like it's just not a place that I want to associate myself with. And I stopped working there halfway through the summer because it just was not something I wanted to be around and not something I could tolerate, especially for the minimum wage that they gave us. It was awful. But at the end of the day, like Gen Z, we just want to feel valued, make an impact, and be in an organization that will make the world a better place. Because I feel like a lot of people just say it on paper, but to me, it actually means something. And I feel like for a lot of other Gen Z people, it means something to make the world a better place. Like we want to leave an impact on this world. And if we aren't in a place where that's possible, then we're just going to move on to the next best thing. Thank you.
Love it.
Dang, my friend, that was powerful.
Awesome. All right, guys. We're gonna let Cindy wrap it up. Dylan, thank you so much. Good luck at college. Be nice to Logan. There are a couple of questions. Cindy, I'll let you handle the question.
Let me share this, and then Darcy, I need to be able to share.
Okay, sorry. Got it.
And then I want to, this is going to be fast. So if you want to take a picture of this, let me know, or go ahead and do it. And then we'll come back because I'm sure that there are some questions for Dylan. So, one thing that, let me get this moving. All right. Can y'all see my screen?
Yep. Got
Okay.
it.
So the first thing is that there is so I wrote this book, and as I said earlier, it's all about helping us know ourselves so that we can be better at leadership, which is, if you think about everything Dylan just said, it's about humanness and connection. And so if we're not in touch with ourselves, we're going to miss it. But we put together a study guide for this, and it is free for you guys. So take a picture. Some of you have already bought the book. Some of you have it on Kindle. but grab this QR code real quick and download it. If you guys are doing, I've got several people doing book clubs at work. I'm glad to zoom in and talk to your group and answer questions and help any way that I can. No charge at all. Just, people ask me all the time, is your book selling? And I'm like, I don't know. I never go check. I just want people to have it. I've probably given away more than I've sold, but I want people to love leading, and this is about starting with you. All right. Second piece of this is the Berkman. There is this QR right here. The Berkman measures 77 points. It is the most powerful tool I've ever come across in helping you grow in your self-awareness. If you want a report, and there is a set of, I think it's 9 videos that are completely for free after you purchase the report. If you go through Berkman to buy a Berkman, this is going to be $335. I am dropping you all to my price that I, pay and charge my clients. I don't upcharge on that because I want you all to have a Berkman. And so if you want that and all the reports that come with it and free videos, it's this QR code. If you want me to go through your Berkman and spend an hour with you, for the first 10 people who sign up, I am dropping this price to $450. And I will tell you, I've been doing this 19 years. I've never done it for that price. And so it's $450. I sound like I'm selling Ginsu knives, but I just keep coming back around to it is. I mean, like, you learn so much through this. So, so that's that QR code, and it's going to expire 10/15, just because if I keep doing that, I'm going out of business, and then we won't be even talking about Berkman. So, okay, back to questions. Does anybody have a question for Dylan or an idea that you want to share?
Oh, I know anyone? I thought we had some hands up. Did we, anything? All right. All right, we're good. You guys know where to find us. It's 256. We'll send out the webinar recording. You'll get it in an email if you registered. We'll also do it on LinkedIn. It'll be on the website. The article that Dylan has, you can download and send to your team and do a nice conversation about it as well. Thank you guys for your time. And Dylan, Jane was really amazing. Thank you so much, Jane. She really
Yes.
helped Dylan pull this together.
Yes.
Thanks, guys,
It
for
was
the time
awesome.
today.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Nice job, Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.